Sill installation. 1. Base sill installation. Once you're confident that the base level and dimensions are accurate, place a spirit level against the inside of the external brickwork and draw a line alongside the inside edge of the spirit level. Refer to your base plan diagram and lay all the sill pieces onto the base. The inside face of the sill should be positioned against this line and onto the base. At this stage, it's important to assure the sill is level, in the correct position, and using your roof plan, which is attached to the checklist images in Box A, check that the internal sill measurements are correct. 2. Sill connectors. Join the sill sections with the appropriate sill connectors and assure that these are silicone sealed on all contact areas. Fit the sill's connectors to the sill using the screws provided. Measure the gap left for the doors and cut the sill to size with a saw so that it overhangs the brickwork for the door by 2 mm on each side. A separate length of 150 mm sill is supplied to fit between the dwarf walls. 3. Fixing sill. See your installation guide to view the key measurement checks. Once you're happy that this is accurate, drill through the sill and into the base to a depth of at least 100 mm. Permanently fix through the sill using the fixing bolts. These should be positioned 100 mm from each end of the sill and equally spaced. Fitting first windows. Note, the wall connector supplied might be different to the one showing. Please refer to your installation guide. 1. Fitting panels. Locate the wall plate and connectors and mark out the position of the relevant fixing bolts. The first and last 60 mm fixing bolt should be positioned 50 mm from the top and bottom faces of the wall connector, with the rest being spaced equally between. A total of 3 fixing bolts are used per wall connector on a dwarf wall model and 5 per connector on a full height model. If any of the positions marked for the 60 mm fixing bolts land on mortar joints, adjust the position accordingly so that they locate over solid brick. Position the wall connector so that the internal edge is in line with the margin on the wall drawn earlier. It is important to ensure that the connector is at an angle of 90 degrees to the base. Use timber packing if required. Pre-drill the holes with an 8 mm drill. While holding the connector in position and ensuring that it rests onto the sill, pre-drill through the connector and into the brick using an 8 mm masonry drill. You're now ready to fix the connector with fixing bolts. Repeat this on the opposite side of the conservatory. Some fixings shown in this DVD are for studio build only. Please refer to your installation guide for the correct fixings required. 2. Fitting first panels. Select the panel to fit against the property wall. Ensure that the drainage slots in every panel are located at the bottom of the panel and facing the outside of the conservatory. You'll notice that each panel corner has the inner legs on the panel detailed notched away. It's essential that this detail is present to ensure that all 18 mm inline couplings can slide into position. 2 sill support blocks should also be attached to each panel. If they're not, please refer to your instruction manual. Position the window close to the wall connector. The legs of the sill support blocks should line up with the channel of the sill. Push or tap the window firmly downwards to clip into place. The base of the window should sit firmly down onto the sill. Check your installation guide for an alternative method. Select the A129 wall plate adapter and 2 A128 wall plate connectors. Slide the adapter and connector downwards so it's held by the window's inner legs until it rests onto the sill. Slide the window and connectors along the sill to engage the legs of the connectors with the legs of the wall plate. Quarter-turn buttons should now be positioned between the panel and the wall connector, around 50 mm from the top and bottom. Using a 6 mm Allen key, rotate the quarter-turn button 90 degrees clockwise to lock it into position. 6 quarter-turn buttons are attached to each face on dwarf wall models, 8 for full height models. Silicone should be applied to the sill where the two-part connector has made contact. Repeat for the opposite window. Fitting windows in a straight run. 1. Fitting intermediate panels. Select the second panel and again remember to ensure the drainage slots are located at the bottom of the panel and facing the front. Fit the panel in the same way as you did the first and bring it into position around 18 mm away from the last panel to be installed. An 18 mm inline coupling should then be slid downward and through the gap between the two panels until it rests on the sill. Use the quarter-turn buttons to secure the panels in place. A quick check of the distance between the two panels should show a distance of 18 mm. The same process is applied to the installation of all other panels and 18 mm inline couplings. 2. Adjustable connectors. After every third 18 mm inline coupler along a run of connected panels, an adjustable inline coupling is required. These allow for adjustment to ensure that the panels will finish in the correct position when connecting to a corner post or a wall connector. For further detailed instructions on the adjustable inline couplings, please refer to the installation guide. 90-degree post. The 90-degree corner post is slid from above between the two adjacent panels with the angled section positioned towards the outer corner of the sill, ensuring the leg detail on the aluminium interlocks with the detail on the panels. Check the installation guide to check correct positioning for internal or external corners. Quarter-turn buttons are positioned in the gap between the panels and the 90-degree corner post. Run a bead of silicone around the base of the corner post. We recommend at this point that you recheck the internal dimensions, width and projection, and check the measurements across the internal corners, which should be the same. Silicone seal the gaps between the front of the eaves beam external trim, P6024, and the front of the windows to create a watertight seal. Position the eaves beam centrally on top of the windows. The inside face of the overhang will sit against the front face of the panels, and the end of the eaves beam will be flush with the outer face of the side panels. Once assembled on top of the panels, drill through the eaves beam only, using a long-reach 5 mm drill 100 mm from the edge of each window. The first holes from the end of the eaves beam should be at 170 mm to ensure it's fastened into the window. Power drive the fixing screws through the holes in the eaves beam and into the head of the window. The furring adapter will be pre-fitted to the bottom of the furring. To fit the furring, lift into place. Locate the connector hook with an inner window leg and rotate, pushing firmly to engage the inner legs of the window with the legs of the connector. Ensure the location legs interlock with the windows and butts up against the eaves beam and wall. Position the quarter-turn buttons horizontally into the gap between the furring and the panels. Turn to lock. Ensure the first quarter-turn button is positioned within 50 mm from the front face of the furrings. Position the buttons every 400 mm along the length, both inside and out. Wall plate installation. Before positioning the wall plate, measure the distance between the furrings and cut the wall plate undercladding accordingly. Slide the undercladding onto the wall plate. Rest the wall plate in the notch of the furring and position centrally. It should be approximately 5 mm back from the furring top cap at each end. Run a bead of silicone along the furring top cap to prevent water ingress. Fit the starter bar onto the bolts situated on the wall plate and eaves beam. The starter bar will sit against the upstand of the furring top cap. This helps locate the position of the starter bar correctly. Repeat for the other side of the roof. To permanently fix the wall plate to the wall, first drill through along the wall plate with an 8 mm masonry drill through the wall plate and into sound masonry. Fix the wall plate with a 60 mm fixing bolt. Don't fully tighten. Allow slack for rotation. Check the level of the wall plate with a spirit level before permanently tightening. Once level, permanently fix the wall plate by fitting the remaining 60 mm fixing bolts at 600 mm centers along the plate, and ensuring that the first and last ones are positioned 100 mm from the end of the wall plate. Some fixings shown in this DVD are for studio build only. Please refer to your installation guide for the correct fixings required. Permanently tighten the M5 flange nuts on the bolt. Attach the starter bars to the furrings with the 32 mm screws along the starter bar. The first screw must be 100 mm from the inside face of the eaves beam. Start at one side of the roof, working across to the opposite side. Remove the protective film from the bar undercladding. Fit the main bars onto the bolts situated in the wall plate and eaves beam. Loosely thread on the M5 flange nuts. Continue to fix all remaining bars. Check that they are perpendicular to the eaves beam and set at the correct distance. Tighten the flange nuts when all distances have been checked against the roof plan. Primary seal to host wall. Self-adhesive flashing tape is included in your conservatory kit. This product is suitable for use where the host wall is flat and even, for example face brickwork. The tape is provided as a means of temporarily sealing the conservatory from water ingress. Although the flashing tape, if applied in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions, can function for many years, it's not a long-term substitute for traditional lead flashing. We would recommend that you employ an experienced builder to carry out lead flashing works during the construction of your conservatory or at some time in the near future. Roof glazing installation. If your glazing material is polycarbonate, it's important to note that the surface, which is protected by the printed polythene film, is the surface that is on the outside of the conservatory. Each roof glazing sheet is labelled with the corresponding number on your roof plan. Please note that if your conservatory roof has glass roof glazing sheets, some may require jointing with muntin bars. See the muntin bars section for instructions on how to install, as well as the back of the installation guide. Although the glazing end trims may already be fitted on the polycarbonate glazing sheets, they will have to be removed to allow the application of a bead of silicone along the top face of the breather tape, where it will come into contact with the glazing end trim. Reattach the end trim once application is complete. Select the first roof glazing sheet and remove its protective outer film. It is recommended that only a 100 mm perimeter of the inner protective film is removed at this stage of conservatory installation, as this will help protect the roof glazing sheet from any unnecessary damage. The inner protective film can be completely removed once all plasterwork is complete. Start with the roof glazing sheets against the wall and to the left, with the face that had the printed film facing outwards. This first sheet will be labelled as G1. Prior to fitting the roof glazing sheets, it's recommended to peel back around 50 mm to 100 mm of the glazing tape protective film. This enables adjustments to be made to the position of the roof glazing sheets without permanently sticking the entire roof glazing sheet to the eaves beam closure. Push the roof glazing sheet up into the universal ridge wings, then slowly allow it to slide back down away from the ridge until it rests flush with the bottom of the transom glazing bars. Allow the roof glazing sheet to gently rest onto the eaves beam closure. Once two adjacent glazing sheets are installed, fit the glazing bar top cap. They will permanently keep the roof glazing sheets in place and create a watertight seal. Fitting glazing bar caps. Select the appropriate glazing bar top cap by matching its number with the corresponding glazing bar number. Prior to installing the glazing bar top caps, the top cap rubber gasket must be lubricated with a solution of mild soapy water or a silicone spray. This will allow the top cap to spread more easily during installation. Use a glazing mallet or similar plastic surfaced mallet to knock on the glazing bar top caps, starting at the top and working down the glazing bar towards the eaves beam. When the glazing bar top cap is attached, ensure that the bottom face of the top cap is aligned with the bottom face of the glazing bar. Remove the protective film from the glazing bar top cap. Now, fit the remainder of the roof glazing sheets and glazing bar caps in the same way as previously described. Fitting glazing bar end cap. When the glazing bar top caps are attached, you need to close the end of the glazing bar with the glazing bar end cap. The glazing bar end cap is attached to the glazing bar by two 3.9 by 19 mm yellow screws. Sit the lip of the end cap over the top cap and locate the top screw through one of the plastic washers supplied and into the port in the glazing bar. Use the hole in the end cap that aligns with the bottom screw port to locate the second screw. Ensure that the screw cover caps supplied are used to hide the screws once in position. Guttering installation. OG gutter support bracket should be positioned 150 mm from each corner and the remainder equally spaced. To fit the brackets, place the top of the bracket into the groove on the eaves beam. Pull the bracket downwards until it locks into place. Hang the front edge of the gutter onto the bracket and rotate up the back of the bracket as shown. Fit only to the first click. Don't push all the way up. Where there are stop ends or outlets on the gutter, you'll need gutter joint clips to fix these in place. Position the gutter joint clips over the gutter. Slide up the back of the gutter until the hooks engage over the gutter. Pull up the front of the joints and clip over the gutter. Once the clips are in place, you can push the gutter up into its final position. With the gutter and clips in place, you can now fit the downpipes and brackets. You'll need to cut the round downpipe into two lengths and join them together by use of the downpipe bends to allow the round downpipe to sweep over the sill and down the dwarf wall to the ground. The cut in the round downpipe is to produce two lengths that suit the height of the window frames and the dwarf wall. Push fit the downpipe onto the spigot of the stop end outlet. Connect the downpipe shoe to the base of the downpipe. Fix the downpipe in position by use of the downpipe retention clips. They can be clipped over the downpipe and fixed into position with the screws provided. Note, to ensure adequate drainage, it is important that all round downpipes supplied are fitted. To hang the door, lift and slide the door sash assembly to allow the sash hinge adjuster to slide between the outer frame hinge. Pass the hinge pins through both hinge parts. Ensure the slot mark in the hinge pin points away from the sash. You might need to tap each pin down using a mallet. Don't fit the outer hinge cover and sash hinge cover caps yet, as adjustments may be required later. At this point, you can tighten the grub screws. Fit the door handles and cylinder. Vertical adjustment is achieved by inserting the Allen key into socket 1 and turning it clockwise to lift the door sash. Horizontal, front to back adjustment can be achieved by inserting the Allen key into socket 2 and turning 90 degrees in either direction to adjust the compression of the door sash. Note that the pin grub screw needs to be removed to allow this adjustment. Horizontal left to right adjustment can be achieved by inserting the Allen key into socket 3 and turning clockwise to move the sash inwards or anti-clockwise to move the sash outwards. Fit the outer hinge cover once the adjustments have been made. The chute bolt keeps have an adjustable top plate. Loosen the locking screws on each plate prior to adjustments. On the slave door, adjust the top section so that this door is pulled into the frame tightly, ensuring that they're retightened afterwards. Adjust the master door keep as required to ensure that the door latching and locking operate smoothly. When both door sashes are in place, you can connect the restrictor arm assemblies. Locate the button on the sliding arm into the receptor of the fixed restrictor assembly. Push upwards until the button snaps into place. Tighten the restrictor arm lock using the 2 mm Allen key. Trims and finishing. Select the 90-degree corner post cover and cut out a 4 mm deep by 8 mm long slot in the top with a fine-tooth saw. Push the corner post onto the leg of the post and slide upwards until the front meets the eaves beam. Position an 18 mm coupling cover over the barbs on the inside of the post and push to fit. The 18 mm coupling covers will need trimming to fit underneath the external eaves beam trim and eaves beam cover. Select the 18 mm coupling covers and position onto the recesses of the sides of each quarter-turn button on the 18 mm inline couplings and push to fit. Repeat for each inline coupling and on the inside. Select the 18 mm coupling covers and position over the two-part connectors between the side panels and furring. Push fit so that the leg detail on the coupling covers interlock with the detail on the quarter-turn button. Repeat on the inside. Select the eaves beam end cap and position over the open end of the eaves beam. Fix with the 25 mm screws and use cover caps. Apply the 2 mm glazing tape on the outside of the starter bar bottom cap and peel back 100 mm of the protective film. Position the hook at the top of the fascia trim over the upright leg on the starter bar, ensuring that the inside face of the fascia trim does not make contact with the adhesive tape. Once you're sure the fascia trim is in line with the front face of the starter bar and correctly positioned, remove the protective film and press firmly to create a bond. When the fascia trim is attached, fix the starter end cap to the end of the starter bar using the 25 mm screws and insert the screw cover cap. Position the wall plate end cap over the end face of the wall plate, ensuring it's hooked over the fascia trim. Fix with the 25 mm screws provided. Position the eaves beam cover onto the barbs of the eaves beam and press to fix. Fit the handles to all opening sashes using the 5 by 20 mm handle screws. Attach the sill end caps at the door using a bead of silicone. Silicone between the sill and dwarf wall.